Welcome to the Hardwood Hustle powered by PGC Basketball. We believe in the value of a coach. We're here to educate, empower, and encourage you to lead like never before. Most of us know from experience what we see out on the floor on game day is the product of what we do or don't do in practice. As coaches, we can identify the habits we want to instill that will make the biggest difference. In this episode, TJ and Sam discuss building habits on offense, defense, and communication, intangibles, and preparation. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Hardwood Hustle. Hey, today Sam and I are going to talk about habits that make your team better. And I think it's, Sam, when we talk about habits, it seems like, oh yeah, you do this a little bit, and it's nice. But really good teams separate themselves with habits, and it doesn't even have to be the same habits for each and every team. It can be different for age and stage, but typically a team that gets a little bit of separation, they have a defining habit. That habit could be they crash the glass all the time. It could be that they play off 2 feet. It could be that they're a great passing team. It could be that they always catch shot ready. So we're just going to talk through some different habits that you might want to implement with your team. And my encouragement to you is pick a few and be great at them. Like your team does this every single time. You can count on them like clockwork to have these particular habits. It's also helpful sometimes to have our offensive habits, our defensive habits, sometimes our communication habits. We can go to a lot of different categories, but having solid habits in any particular area is going to make your team stand out and look a little bit different, because sometimes you watch teams play and you don't know what their habits are. Maybe they do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but you can't tell what their defining habits are. So Sam, first question for you is, why are defining habits really important for a team?
Well, coaches, we can talk about who we want to be or what our teams want to be, but really we are what our habits are, as a team, as people, our everyday lives. And so, there's a really good quote I heard a couple weeks ago. Is from Craig Groeschel. He said, "We don't fall into healthy habits. We fall into what is easy." Now, he was referring to personal habits, but I think that's so true in basketball. It's not like teams are just falling into healthy habits of, great vision, playing off 2 feet, being shot ready, cutting hard. Those don't happen just because you fell into them. They happen because you're intentional. And so to answer your question, it matters, TJ, because that's who we are. That's what your team is. And so you got to get really clear on what do you want your team to look like, play like. And then my last thought, and I'll, ping it back to you, is I also think about a Don Meyer quote, and he said, practice like you lost your last game. And a lot of teams don't do that. A lot of coaches don't coach that way. They practice what's comfortable. You won 2 or 3 games, and so you don't want to ruffle the feathers, just want to keep status quo. But if you come into every practice with a little chip, a little edge, like we got to get these habits right, or we got to continue to build great habits. And if we practice like if we practice like we lost our last game, you're going to get more done in practice. You are going to do things with more precision. You'll take pride in the habits that you have and are developing. So I love talking habits.
Yeah, so let's talk about, in our PGC coaching membership, we talk about this in player development, about habits that you need to have in different aspects of the game. And we talk about offense, we talk about defense, we talk about intangible habits, communication habits. So let's just go on down the list. Let's just start with offense. And again, these don't have to be the same for every coach, but what are some particular habits that you really value on offense? I've got a couple that I think are really important that we try and get our team to do. And when I think about teams that have some separation, I think it's easy to pick out their habits, and the one that stands out to me, I've shared before, but Villanova, they had some amazing habits. Their team did some things a little bit differently. Even I was watching what Bellarmine play the other night. This is a team that has some amazing passing habits. You might have seen the clip on Twitter where the ball never touches the ground. They're just great passers. They have the habit of making good reads and great passes. That's how they play. Other teams play the game differently, but that's their particular habit that they want to be great at. What are some habits that you value on the offensive end? If you're coaching a team, if you had to pick 2 or 3 habits you want them to have, what are they?
Yeah, I would. You touched on them, and I touched them already. Villanova's, maybe one of the best at them, and I was showing that Bellarmine clip to the middle school teams I'm coaching right now, actually. So TJ, for us, it'd be playing off 2 feet, it'd be peeking, it would be being shot ready. those are some individual habits. Some team habits are we're gonna cut really hard, and then 2, we're gonna take great shots. We're not gonna settle for average shots. We're gonna take great shots. So those are 3 individual habits and 2 team habits that I think are really important. What about you?
Yeah, I think those habits are really important. I think you can go a lot of different direction in this habit. I always think that, great passing teams are great shooting teams. And I think it's one of those things we don't work on enough, delivering the ball, on time, on target, in the shot pocket. And so I think that's one of those things where I always kind of shoot myself in the foot a little bit, like early on, where we would focus too much a little bit on X's and O's and getting all the right places. And then later on in the season, I find myself going back to, hey, let's work on be a better passing team. We look back at the game and there was 8, 9, 10 shots that could have been clean looks that weren't because we didn't make the right pass. Maybe we were moving, we hit them at their ankles or we hit them too high. So on time, on target, I think being a really good passing team leads to really good shots. And so that's one of the ones that I never put it in there in the beginning, but I go back about midseason and say, shoot, why didn't I do this? And I don't know why, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again. I'm about 4 seasons in. So like at halftime halfway through the season saying, gosh, we got to be a better passing team. And I think that produces better shots.
Well, passing's an underrated and overlooked. It's underrated skill, overlooked habit, and I think you got to work at it. Whether that's traditional passing, 2-man passing drills, or just in your drill and or competitive play work and emphasizing it. So, yeah, those are good. If we move into defensive habits, what would you say is what do you want your teams to have? I haven't seen your team play this year yet, but what are y'all trying to establish?
Well, again, I think this changes from team to team. Like when I was talking about offensive habits, I think if you're going to be a team that's going to play through the post, you need to have great pass fakes so that you can have good post entries. If you're going to be a team that's going to play off of a lot of down screens or flare screens, you got to be on target with your passes. If you're going to be a dribble drive team, you need to be able to play in straight lines. It's another habit we use all the time is the ability to play in straight lines, whether it's off a cut or whether it's off a drive. We're trying to always measure is our team playing in a straight line. And so those, you could go endless, but I really do think your offensive habits and defensive habits have to tie into your system. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, what are we trying to do with our X's and O's, and how do we make them better? What habits will put this on steroids, or what habits will enhance what we're doing? Like read and react, cutting hard every time you're supposed to cut through, passing cut. Like, the team looks different if you're running read and react offense or any offense that has a lot of cutting in it. If you don't have the habit of cutting really hard in and cutting really hard out, it's going to look different than a team that does cut hard in and cut hard out. Defensively.
Sorry, one thing to build on that for a second before we go to defense. When a lot of coaches say, I want my players to be very good decision makers and make, good reads. And so the habit that allows you to be a good decision maker goes back to what I said earlier, which is when you catch the ball, are you peeking? If you see the floor, it's going to allow you to have more time to make a better decision, where a lot of players play with their head down, even at higher levels. And then if you have the habit of being shot ready along with when ball or hands touch leather, that again, it allows you to be shot ready, be thinking shot first, and then you make better decisions. So I just want to highlight that for coaches. Like, there are foundational habits that you say, yeah, I want all my players to do that, but there's a deeper why and spider web out from that on what that allows your players to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times your defensive habits can actually mirror your offensive habits in some ways. Like, what do you think leads to winning on offense? So if I just alluded to, hey, good passing teams or good shooting teams, we'll flip that over on the defensive end. One of our habits that we really like to have on defense is active hands, a hand above the ball at all times, Don Meyer used to say. And a hand above the ball will make you quicker to the contest. A hand above the ball will take away passing lanes, and you can test passes better. And so if we can make a team a bad passing team, sometimes we can make them a worse shooting team. And so, I've got a lot of defensive habits that are important to us, but I would just start with that one because while it's important for us to be a good passing team so we get better shots, it's also important for us to be a good hand the ball above the ball defensive team so that we're not giving clean passes all the time and we're contesting shots well. And so it works both ways. If we feel like we get good shots on the offensive end and we make them a poor shooting team on the defensive end, that's going to create separation for us.
Yeah, that's good. And I think like this morning we were watching film with a team and we were breaking down the first quarter, and our vision is to do this, TJ, and then you can tell me how you think. But our vision, we want to contest every dribble, every pass, and every shot. You know how hard that is? We want to contest every single dribble for 94 feet, every single pass, and every single shot. That takes a high level of effort. It takes a high level of focus, a high level of discipline, high level anticipating and not reacting. And so we were watching film of a game where we were, I think, up 12-4 after first quarter. And that's exactly what happened. Like these guys were getting after it, and it was giving the other team heck. I mean, but my point is that's our vision for what we want. Now, how do we bring it to life? Well, we bring it to life by developing the habit of being in the bubble, of being in a stance, one pass away, having our gap control. 3, by talking. Like I would say those are really 3 foundational habits within our defense that allows us to be a great defensive team.
Yeah, and well, kudos on being a great defensive team. That's not easy to get any level of basketball to do those 3 things. Contesting everything is, like you said, it takes a high level of effort. I think that a lot of times your defensive habits should be related to your personnel as well. Like if there's certain things that before you know what's going to win, you got to know what loses. And so you might go into a team and think, gosh, rebounding is going to be a really big pivotal thing for us this year. And it is most years. But if you see a team that's like, gosh, we're undersized, there's different things. How do we become so starting from day one and building the habit of checking people out or boxing out, I think it can be a habit that a team can really be great at if they work at it. Flip side of that on the offensive end, if you want to get more possessions, offensive rebounding. And I think it's also important to know you can't choose all of these things. You know what I mean? Like you can't be great at absolutely everything. And I think sometimes we want to be like just the goal of being contesting every pass, shot, and dribble. Like that's probably enough goals on defense right there. Like if you're capable of doing that, you might not be great at some other things, but if you can do that, you're well on your way. And you don't have to be great at everything, but you do have to have a calling card and your habits have to stand out. And if you could do, the particular 3 or 4 habits that you have, you've got a chance to be good defensively. And that looks different for every single team. You might be a team that, you're small and you want to have the habit of defending the post really well. And so like just the habit of getting around and moving our feet, that takes teaching, that takes work. Or it could be the habit of doubling or however you want to defend the post. But that's a habit. Like it's something that you're going to work on when the pass leaves to go to the post. We're flying to the double right away. Because just saying double the ball doesn't make you a good doubling team. But having the habit of leaving when the pass leaves their fingertips give you a chance of getting there quick and causing some disruption. And so, when you break it down, you can't just say, well, we want to be good at doubling the post. All right, what are the habits necessary to double the post so that we can overcome our size deficit? Any one of those things, any particular thing that you have, you could break down the necessary 2 or 3 habits probably to do that 1 or 2 things that you want to do well on defense.
Yeah, and I think another thing that came up to my mind, I think it's a dovetail off that. Like if you're going to coach your players on habits, celebrate the process. So, for example, if we're playing this style of defense that we're trying to establish our identity on, I'll clap when the other team takes a contested 3 and makes it, and I'll start clapping as a coach, and our bench will clap. Like the other team's a little confused. You know what I'm saying? They're like, wait, why are they excited about we just made a shot? No, we're excited. We want you to continue to take that shot. That's good for us. And I think what that does is for your players, it takes a little bit of pressure off knowing their coach is all tied to the process. And again, very cliche thing to say. Nick Saban's made it very popular. But again, I think very few coaches actually live that out because it's hard to. We're results oriented. but I just want to point, and to your other point, like I'm coaching 3 teams right now, and we were trying to play the style I just described to you, 94 feet. Well, the 8th grade team I'm coaching, we got a couple bigs. I mean, I tell you what, we were getting blown by in the full court and just like giving up so many easy shots. And we scratched it after like 3 games, and we said we're going to become a great half court defensive team. We're going to take what we're doing in the full court, drop it in the half court. We're going to become great at that. Nothing changes, but we just personnel wise couldn't match up, and it was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it just wasn't like my ego. If I allowed my ego get in the way, I would have been negatively affecting the kids. So I think that's a good point you made.
Yeah, another habit we talk about is communication habits. And, one, just building the habit of communicating is hard. I think anybody that's ever coached a team, getting a team to communicate is really, really difficult. But, what are some things that you can do on the offensive end? I think one thing that can lead to good communication is picking 3 or 4 words that you want said every time. And so on defense, we talk about saying these particular words, left or right on the ball screen. Because when we hear left or right, it's only speaking to the ball screen. That's the person that's guarding the ball is who we're talking to. So we don't try and, hey, so-and-so left, so-and-so right. It's a lot of talk. Like left and right is just talking to the ball screen. Another word that we like to use is mud. So when you're one pass away, you're making it muddy. You're making the reads hard. You're trying to mud it up. And then the third one is goalie. Like who is the person that if everything breaks down, they're the person responsible for stopping the ball from getting a layup goalie. So, left and right, which is, 2 words, but it's just one communication, mud and goalie. Those are 3 words that we like to use on defense. And I feel like I'd like to add more words than that. I'd like to have 7 or 8 words that we use, but first we got to get good at 3. I think the habit of communication, those 3 things right there is what we kind of hang our hat on defensively.
Yeah, the communication habit. I want to build on what you said in a moment. I would say first, have you taught your players why it matters? It's one thing as a coach to say, "Hey, we got to talk. We got to be a great communicator." Like, have we taught them why it matters? And then 2, tell them what to say, which is what you just said. We have 5 words, TJ. We stole, mud. I stole that one from you. But when we're guarding the ball, if it's in the middle third, we're saying weak, 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 weak. It's just a verbal trigger to the player, like we're forcing it to their weak hand. When the ball's in the outer third, we're having no middle, so we say side. And some people, and I used to be like, don't worry about saying ball, ball, ball. Like I don't want them to say ball. And then I moved away from. I said like 4 players on defense need to be talking. The 1 player guarding the ball, just focus on guarding the ball. But I actually 2 years back or last year we started saying side, and I really liked it because I think the verbal communication expression triggers in the physical to do it. It doesn't mean you're going to do it, but we say side, we say weak. If the player picks the ball up, we say dead, which means we go to full denial with all 4 other players, and we go hard ball pressure, belly to belly. I think, and then the other 2 you mentioned, we just say mud or help. You use goalie. We say you should either be in the mud or you should be in help. So yeah, we keep it real simple with those 5, and we found that to be, I'd say that's something over the last 2 years we've developed into those 5 words and really like it.
Yeah, I like it. Let's talk about the 4th one here, which is intangibles. And so intangibles is one of those things that everybody loves to talk about and everybody wants, but are you making sure that those are habits every day? And so one of the ones I always share at our coaches clinics, and one of our intangible habits that we want to make sure that we have is just the intangible habit of gratitude, like thanking the passer, celebrating the help defense when they get there. Really just being verbal and communication and dead balls or wherever we have opportunity to just show gratitude on the court. And when a player does something to help us out or a teammate does something, not just celebrating a big shot or whatever, but we really want to celebrate people on the court for unselfish plays. And so when I think about intangibles, I think people don't typically think of that because it's also one of our pillars as a team. But just having gratitude on the court, being able to recognize when somebody did something that was selfless that helped the team is a big intangible that we want to celebrate all the time for us.
I like it. And I I think one of the four I'll share is along with that. So I'll start with it is like just the habit of celebrating a teammate. That's thanking the passer, and those that are listening, most are familiar with Dean Smith, what he established at North Carolina. You thank the passer. You saw North Carolina players in the pros do this. We talk about this at clinics. You'd rather have a player who points to the passer than points three fingers to the head or pumps their chest. And that's hard to fight. I think that's even more so in today's age where a lot of players do see the pros doing lots of self-celebratory things, right? The three fingers or, tapping the head or too small, putting it's all that is more about showing up the opponent, TJ. I might go on a side rant here, but it's like more about showing up the opponent than just celebrating what you did. And that's become really common. Somebody here in Atlanta, I am going down a side, but somebody here in Atlanta the other day, the high school kid posted a video. They caught some video. He was playing 3-on-3. They cleared it out. He crossed over his teammate. Kid fell down. He hits a three. All the teammates just run out of the gym, like laugh, and they're laughing at the kid who fell. That's his own teammate. It's one thing to do it in practice, and then you're going to go post it online of your own teammate. I thought, man, that's crazy. Where was we going with that? Oh, intangibles. So look, celebrate your teammates.
And one thing I would add to that, the flip side of that, I don't remember the Georgia offensive lineman. I saw a video that went viral of he's with the Philadelphia Eagles now, and I can't remember his name, but he's an offensive or defensive lineman. And
Jordan Davis.
Yeah. So he pancaked the guy he was going against, and everyone said, that was video went viral, whatever. And I liked what he got on there. And he said he did the opposite of that. It wasn't his choice for the video to go viral, but once he saw it go viral, he said, hey, listen, y'all just saw one clip, but you don't know what happens every single day in practice. This guy beats me all the time. I beat him. We go back and forth. He's a great player. And, celebrating and lifting up a teammate rather than taking him down. I think that's underrated, and I think people, it's a different time is that we're living in the sense that people love celebrating all the kind of stuff that you just talked about. But thing hasn't changed is where it does chip away sometimes at a team. So it's important to manage those things.
No doubt. Yeah. I love you brought that up. Yeah. That's Jordan Davis for the Eagles, rookie, out of Georgia. And he did. I mean, a rookie to have that maturity and say, no, it's not like that. Like, this dude whips me, y'all caught it and it went viral, but I think that's a good point. And so the other intangibles, TJ, I'll just drop some of the ones that I would share are give reminders. Again, that's something we teach at PGC, but that's an intangible. Reminders are something you need before they're needed. And so we want our players to be in the habit of giving reminders. That's drill work. That's during live game. That's dead free throws. That's dead ball. It's coming out of a timeout. And that's player-led teams. A third thing is we want to have great response, mistake response. Again, another PGC, not reactions. Reaction is something that's not built in. We just react to the moment. It's very emotional, and a lot of players get very emotional. A fourth one is being a great teammate. And I don't know if you remembered our Chicago clinic in the fall. I love what Mike Neighbors shared regarding the mistake response. He didn't frame it this way or call it mistake response, but when he coached Kelsey Plum at Washington, she would get really angry. And so one day he brought a stopwatch to practice, and he said she did something wrong and she got angry, and he walked over to her and held the stopwatch in her face and she's like, what's that? And he said, I'm just timing you so I know how long in a game when you get upset, how long I need to take you out for before I put you back in. And it was that's a good visual. And imagine your best player, your All-American, you're like, hey, I'm just going to take you out when you have all these emotional reactions. And then we'll put you back in, whether that's 4 minutes or 40 seconds. But that's a pretty powerful tool as a coach to use. So I think intangibles matter a lot. How many coaches build habits out of it is an interesting question.
Yeah, and I always err on the side of less is more. You know what I mean? I think if we just think about what we're talking about right now, we're talking about habits that matter. And if you've got 5 habits that matter for offense, defense, and all of a sudden you got 25 habits that you got to be great at. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of things. And so you can be the jack of all and the master of none if you have so many different habits. So I always err on the side of less. And, I think another one that, and a good base for us, like at PGC, we teach shape, spirit, communication, hustle, approach, precision, and enhancement. Like those are 6 intangibles of a great teammate. And all of those are really good. But if I'm sitting there coaching a 7th grade team or 8th grade team, like I might just start with spirit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, look, if we're going to be known for one thing this year, because coaches ask me that all the time, we try to do all these and we didn't get to all of them. What should I start? Well, just get great at one letter. And then when you get great at it, add a second letter. And I think it really sometimes habit stacking, like it's talking about it in Atomic Habits, can be a really good thing. Sometimes we get overwhelmed when we have 5 habits on offense, 5 habits on defense. Well, just nail one and then add a second, and then add a second. When you nail a second, add a third. That's a good way to approach it sometimes, where I think sometimes we go in the off season and we have all these things that we want to do and all these plans that we want to have. And then we look back on the season, we really didn't get too good at any of them. And so be mindful of the age and stage that you're coaching as well. Last one I would say is this is number 5 that we have here is preparation. And I don't think a lot of people think about this, but I think teams have good preparation habits. They show up and practice well and play well. And so for me, it's important to have a good mental preparation and a good physical preparation. Like, what are the habits that you have of doing every single day? And when I think about our physical preparation, and again, age stage appropriate, but like rolling out every single day is important for us. Even if we get to a second one, unlocking the ankles and knees and hips, because those are the hinges in which you move. Those are physically some things that we want to do every day to make sure that we're prepared. And then mentally, I think the habit of just every day when players walk into practice, like giving us a high five or a fist bump. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Hey, Lisa, how's it going? You're just talking to your players. I think it helps to say if there's something about their interaction, not a lot of eye contact, really quiet or whatever, then it's opportunity to say, hey, before we get into practice, is everything okay? Do we need to go? And that's one of the mental things that we use as a habit of just checking in every day before practice, so that before we get into practice and somebody pouts or they're down or they're mad or they're upset, like something wrong, it could just be something like, man, I have a nagging back injury. Okay, well, that's good for me to know, And so I think just checking in on their mental every single day is really, really important. It could be something big. Mom's in the hospital, dad's in the hospital. It could be something like that. Wow, that's hard to practice under those circumstances, but it's really good as a coach to know. So one of the ways that we always work on mental preparation is just to check in so that we are certain as to where they're at. So that's a habit we have as coaches, and then the habit of them getting mentally right, but they can't help get mentally right if we're not even in touch with what they need to get mentally right before practice.
Yeah, I think you brought up one thing that's really important, which is, as a coach, do you have proper beginnings? We talked about that with Seth Bernard a few years ago, which is like, what are your beginnings and endings? And do you establish it as a coach, or do you players? Like I've done it. I think you've done this, TJ, where you just kind of make it a standard where your players, when they come in the gym, it's their job to go to each coach and get a fist bump and look them in the eye. You could either require players to do that, or as a coach, you make that your own commitment that you do the same. But I think that's an important one, of engaging your player before practice. But I'd say a real challenge, I don't know if you have this at the college level. I think a lot of high school, middle school coaches have it, which is, you get done with the school day, they're coming in, you start practice 5 minutes, so there's not much like time on the court prior to practice actually starting. And you sometimes miss out on those opportunities to get individual touches. But tell me what you think about this, because this is one I've been thinking a lot about. I'd say a lot about over the last couple of years, and even more over the last couple of weeks. How you start practice, like we can ask players, and you coach college players that are 18 to 22 who should be more mature, and then a lot of times are, but sometimes they're not even ready to go. They don't have the emotional, physical, mental maturity to bring a professional approach to it. So my question to you is, one that I've been playing with is like, a lot of times I've just expected players, and I tell them this, when we start practice and we bust out a center circle, like we're going right away. You better be ready. You should have done your pre-practice work to get yourself physically and mentally ready. But I've been messing around with like, how to better ramp up teams and players. And so I've really switched that mindset over the last probably 3-4 weeks, where I'm getting them acclimated to the environment and doing very intentional things in beginning of practice. How much do you think about that? Like, I know we're talking about preparation, but I'm talking about the start of it, where you ramp them up, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it does matter. I think the arc of a practice matters. I think that growing somebody over time, and it could be something like going from 1-on-0 to 1-on-1 to 2-on-0 to 2-on-2, like just even something that you organize like that, of building up, because it is sometimes one of those things where practice, maybe players aren't completely ready because of things that are going on. So how do we get them to the place of ready? And some days it could be opposite of that. It could be going right into a drill. I've shared on with our PGC Facebook group, like my 60-point drill that I really like, because it right off the rip makes them communicate. It makes them run and warm up their bodies. It makes them pass the ball well. It goes. And I just think things that physically get them going, and I think coaches can vary on this. Like, a lot of times we like to do our new stuff. Let's say we're putting a new inbounds play, or we're doing a new set or something like that. We do it before we stretch, because we need to walk through it. It's probably going to be messy. It's probably going to be ugly. I don't want them to think of that as the start of practice. And so thinking about getting them mentally right, like, hey, let's go through this. Their mind is clean. It's fresh. So we put something new in. Then we stretch, but then after we stretch, we go to something that's really active, that gets them going, that says, hey, I got to talk, I got to go, and kind of warm up their body, warm up their mouth, all of those things at one time. I don't like to, stretch, get ready, and then walk through something after we just stretch. I'd rather go right into, because we just got done stretching. I think thinking about little details like that does matter.
That's a good point. So when you do your 5-on-0 blob install, and then you stretch, you're going to come back to it and go live, or at a full speed later on?
Yeah, later on we'll go live with it and work on it and put it in that 5-on-5 setting. But it just, it just can set a bad tone when you're like walking through a bunch of stuff and going. They're kind of just walking. All of a sudden you're like, okay, now let's go. And so I like to get some separation there.
Yeah, and I've never been, not never. Let me back up. I moved away in the last 7-8 years from being like a ball handling warm up to start practice, and just thought, you know what, if you're a good ball handler, you're going to work on your ball handling. And we're going to do things that allow you to do that, but not your traditional ball handling drills. But I also find value over the last couple of weeks in using some partner ball handling drills where we're working on vision and working on change of pace. And I found it gets them acclimated verbally, physically, and mentally into practice. So that's something to think about, coaches, with just how again, we're talking about preparation habits on these player development habits. There's 5 of them: offensive, defensive, communication, intangibles, and preparation. And we're kind of lumping in the beginning of practice with preparation. So I think that's super important, if you want to, like TJ you kind of touched on it, TJ, but the arc of practice, I think that's one that maybe you could go deeper on for coaches, by what you mean arc of practice. I know what you mean, but just want other coaches to get deeper on that.
Well, sometimes just a build up, I think just building up, and also like practice. Could there be like start with something and grow it into the end? It's 5-on-5 or 3-on-3, super competitive. And then maybe there's a water break, and then you arc again, or you can practice one giant arc where you kind of start, go, build up, and then you get to the very end. But I think sometimes it can be a little bit messy when we stop, go. So we just competed. Now it's like, hey, let's walk through some stuff 5-on-0. Let's do this. Now, let's compete again right there. And I think players, mind can wander, if there's not a good arc to practice. So I think all of those are really important, coaches. I think habits, what habits do you want to be good at? What age stage do you coach? Do you need 1 habit, 3 habits? Picking out the things. And we just gave you a lot of different ideas and different areas of things that you could choose. And you might have your own as well, and things that might be separators for your team. But championship teams have championship habits, and so you have to be intentional about the habits that you're building in your team every day. Hey, he is Sam. I am TJ. We are the Hardwood Hustle.
Thanks again for tuning into this episode of the Hardwood Hustle, where we believe in the value of a coach. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Hardwood_Hustle to stay up to date on the latest episodes and share your thoughts with our coaching community. From the Hardwood Hustle team, thanks again. We can't wait to be with you again next week.